Should action be taken to secure the health of salmon in the Fraser River? Before jumping into any rash conclusions, there are several important factors that require consideration. Stakeholders, of course, are one of these crucial factors. It is the stakeholders themselves that make the issue of Fraser salmon health a unique one. Meanwhile, there are also non-government stakeholders who are affected by this policy area. Among them, environmental groups, the Aboriginal community, recreational fishers, and commercial fisheries. Given these stakeholders and the urgent need for sustainable initiatives, what we are suggesting is for the federal department to approach this issue with stronger environmental policies that protect the integrity of the Fraser salmon. Of course, we are also realistic and understand the conflicting nature of all these stakeholders. This needs to be taken into consideration. The threats that the salmon are facing include habitat loss, mining, urban development, groundwater use, contaminants, hydroelectric products, forestry, wildfires, municipal wastewater, and fish farms. Of course, these are disturbing effects from an environmental standpoint, but they are also the byproducts of economical activities that serve the interests of others. This must be kept in mind when creating environmental policy. A crucial stakeholder that demands to be expanded upon is the Aboriginal community of BC. The livelihoods of First Nations groups within the Fraser watershed are intrinsically linked to the river salmon. A healthy stock of salmon is vital to a deep-rooted tradition of fishing among First Nations. As such, they are directly interested in salmon health. Recreational fishers cannot be ignored either. Similar to the Aboriginal community, recreational fishers are feeling the effects of economic expansion that contaminates and minimizes salmon yields. Recreational fishers work closely with the Aboriginal community to the end of securing salmon health in the Fraser, though they have also clashed over fishing rights in the past. Commercial fishing is an economic enterprise which directly affects the well-being of Fraser salmon. Of course, much of what is affecting wild salmon also affects farm salmon that reside within farming barriers along the Fraser itself. Likewise, how farmers treat their farmed fish can have tremendous effects on wild salmon, as the use of antibiotics and the manifestation of sea lice has shown. And environmental groups, of course, may be the most obvious stakeholders. Environmental groups lobby and advocate the well-being of salmon, which they hold stake in through the intrinsic value they place on the environment. Watershed Watch is one of the most important in the context of Fraser salmon. They call attention to threats faced by salmon such as sea lice and challenge the province for tighter regulation over things the province holds jurisdiction over, such as groundwater. They are also no fans of the federal government. They are, however, natural allies of the Aboriginal community. The Seas and Oceans is the government entity most directly related to salmon health, as they hold jurisdiction over all policy directed toward Fraser River. They oversee and protect Canada's seacoast and inland waters, which are both areas Fraser River salmon occupy. Besides merely securing aquatic ecological well-being, they are also mandated with the tasks of economic growth in the marine and fishery sectors, as well as supporting research in aquaculture and biotechnology. Of course, these three obligations can and do come into conflict with each other. In order to recommend a probable course of policy action, in order to secure Fraser River salmon health, we must be realistic. There are numerous economic ambitions that conflict with the salmon health, ambitions that are promoted by the Conservative Party as a strict advocate of an unrestricted economy with minimal regulation and minimal government. Of course, Canada's corporate community holds a lot of political clout, and certainly more so than environmental groups. What's more, BC's economy is resource-driven, so limiting resource industries through taxation and regulation would incur poor feedback from British Columbians. What's more, the Liberal Party of BC is, much like the federal Conservatives, anti-environmentalists. However, none of this is to say that the government couldn't be persuaded. If enough pressure is put on the federal government, they will act. With enough strength, public opinion could compel this conservative government to explore some state intervention in securing our salmon health. What can you do to join in the fight for wild salmon survival?